Yo, what's going on, guys? Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday night. Look, man, I was trying to go live, but then Pro Box had an amazing group of fights, and I was really caught up in that one fight between Najee Lopez versus Marcos Escudero. Thought that was the co-main event, but or it could be. I'm not exactly too sure. But I got some females fighting here. Maybe you guys are having the same or watching the same fight too. But shout out to Pro Box, man, because they every Wednesday or Thursday that they go and stream their fights, it's fantastic work. But let me see. Let me know if you guys can hear me real quick. Um, let me see if these guys are on the panel. Nope. Alrighty, let me just organize my stuff real quick. And Vince, Pro Box TV on YouTube has some fights live now. He's reading the comments. Miguel Madueño, Mexico, 31-2, 28 KOs, just beat Justin Pauldo, American, 17-2, 8 KOs for some belt. Nothing major, but it's a belt. I updated the records above. Right on, brother. Damn. Yeah, I must have missed that one, man. Good stuff. Let me see. Cool. I've seen it too. Later rounds, they were slugging it out, testing out each other's chin. 10th round, Pauldo was running backwards. Speed goes, yeah. On rounds, I had Madueño, but with the point deduction, they dropped. But it didn't look good. Pauldo just gave up fighting on the 12th. The cleaner face shots went to Pauldo by a bit, but that body work by Madueño was outstanding. Vince Vargas goes, Madueño does load up on his punches with power. Damn, I guess I gotta rewind that live and see it backwards. Right now, I was watching on the Zone Boxing on the YouTube page, Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn face off. I was 6 minutes in. You know, it was amicable. You know, they're being very respectful towards one another. And then it looks like they buried the hatchet in the beef, and looks like they're just trying to, from a competitive standpoint, you know, they're just trying to match up their fights. Doesn't look like they're going a lot of back and forth. And I'm gonna say this, man. I know a lot of people give Oscar De La Hoya a lot of shit for you know, what he does in his life, but after a certain amount of time, he does like bury the hatchet, right? Like he did so with Bob Arum. He also did so with Dana White, and now he's doing it with Eddie Hearn. So whatever it is that this new epiphany or, you know, guidance that Oscar De La Hoya is going through in his life, shout out to him, man. You know, me and Speed were making fun of him the other day because he was on his Mahomes jersey and his tidy whities playing golf. And he's like, what are you doing? You know, because his lady's recording him, bro. It's some funniest stuff. But I'm gonna say this, man. You know, that's rich man's problems. You know, that's the life of comfort that we all want to have. Not necessarily in our tidy whities playing golf and being caught in the act, so to speak. But I mean, there are worse things that could, you know, that could be recorded and shown on display. But hey, shout out to Oscar, man. Hopefully he has a big 2024, and I can't wait to see what he has in store. I was extremely harsh on 2024 boxing because I didn't think it was gonna live up to how great 2023 was, but it's okay, you know, in the sense that we've had a lot of good up and comers, right? Like fighters like Abdullah Mason or Mason Abdullah, fighters like Troy Isley and company. You know, they've done a really good job of just being active. And it's one of those things that when a lot of these up and comers, I know that they're being schooled and modeled and given a lot of knowledge from their peers and people that in the networks. But, you know, when they're an up and coming fighter like a Richard Torres, there's a lot of innocence to them, right? And then once they get a sense of power on a fat old paycheck, become a champion, you know, power and all those things manipulates, and, you know, they get caught up in the you know, that aura of like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. But, you know, when they're up and comers, you know, they listen, they're in tuned. And then at a certain level, you know, their circle gets smaller and smaller, and they're no longer replying to the same old people that they used to. And whatever the case may be, you know, as well you should, you know, as that old saying goes, a school bus carries 50 plus children, but a Ferrari only holds 2. So whatever the case may be. But Vince Vargas goes, Ruben Villa posted today on Instagram that he is fighting April 13th on Top Rank. Yeah, man. Shout out to Ruben, man. I'm excited. He's fighting again in Corpus Christi. And one of the things that I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well, but there has been a lot of fights that are not really happening in California. It seems like all of these fights are going elsewhere to Arizona and Texas, and a lot of these California fighters, they're not even fighting stateside, California. And I'm like, damn, what is like higher tax bracket or what's going on, We haven't really had in California a really big fight. I mean, as I say that, Devin Haney just fought Regis Prograis in December, but there's not a lot of big fights happening here. There used to be a time where there was at the StubHub in Carson, California, all these fights were being made there, and all of a sudden it's just like, nothing major here. It could be because Oscar left and took Golden Boy headquarters. I don't know if they made the move final, but I know he's looking to build his own arena or move over to Las Vegas and take pretty much all his network over there. But nevertheless, man, California needs to reinvigorate its boxing scene. Even Ruben Villa doesn't fight here in Salinas or San Jose anymore, Kids got big time. But like I said, those are big boy problems. And hopefully, he fights a top 10 fighter. More than likely, it'll be a fighter similar to like a Joet Gonzalez or an Isaac Dogbo. I think that's respectively who Ruben Villa will be fighting, somewhere in the top 20, top 15. So it's going to be really interesting to see who they're going to put him up. Again, I don't know if he has a 3 or 4 fight deal, but hopefully later on in the year he gets a fight with a fighter or a champion like Lee Wood or Venado Lopez. But Ruben's going to have to win in impressive fashion, and hopefully he starts to get into his man strength and start knocking the blocks off people just so people can really pay attention and tune in. So War Speed goes, cook on for a minute. I will hop on after I find my headset. Right on, brother. Right on. Yeah, man. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about before we get to Bill Haney and how he keeps having, like, he wants to talk about race, right? Like, that's really one of the things that's really been on his mind. He questions the validity of Ryan Garcia and whether he's Mexican enough, right? If he's La Raza, if he's a tough guy. And then he goes on, I think in last night or 2 days ago on the press conference between his son Devin and Ryan, and they're talking about, he tells Bernard Hopkins, man, what have you done enough for your people? You're doing good with the brown people, but what have you done? And before we get onto that topic, Bill has a lot to say. He doesn't just keep it boxing related. And for some reason, he thinks he's the gatekeeper and the savior to his own people, right? And, before we start cooking and getting into that detail, I want to talk about Andy Cruz versus Keyshawn Davis. Look, man, that's a really good fight. I don't know if Andy Cruz has specifically called out Keyshawn Davis after one of his fights victories, But I know Matchroom, DAZN, and Eddie Hearn, they're the ones that are pushing that agenda. They're the ones that are pushing Andy Cruz to fight Keyshawn Davis. And honestly, if that's their play, if that's how they build Andy Cruz into the American audience and the American boxing scene, and if that's their version of a mega fight, I'm okay with it, man. I was extremely impressed with Keyshawn Davis in his last fight against Jose Pedraza, right? When, in his previous 8 fights, I really wasn't too impressed with Keyshawn. I was like, he's not really beating anybody worthy of note. And I think he'll be upset. But I did say if he does knock out Pedraza, I'm going to give him a whole lot of credit because guys like Arnold Barbosa, Chon Cepeda, and Jose Ramirez were unable to. In fact, they had such a hard time with Pedraza, even Lomachenko did. And to be honest with you, up in those 4 fights, I didn't rate Pedraza that highly, but I had to change my tune of voice because I was like, damn, ever since he moved up to these weight classes, Pedraza's doing and holding it down. Like I give your fighters respect, like, when respect is needed to be given out, because shout out to Pedraza. That dude is a road warrior and he's fighting all these dudes and he's giving them a good fight. Well, that was quite the opposite when he fought Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis gave him 5 or 6 different looks. Each single round, he had a different game plan, and he was implementing it extremely well. dominating fashion and stopped him. I think El Pachuco made a funny ass comment in where he was like, "Man, this is messed up. This is elderly abuse." Hearing aids are flying out of the ring like that. Like that's how dominant Keyshawn Davis was. To the point where we're joking heavily, but yeah, man, it was such a great dominant performance. And Andy Cruz in his third fight, I think he fought last weekend. He's looking extremely well, right? Like, I know he's 26, 28 years old, but he's not missed a beat. And again, if that's Matchroom and Eddie Hearn's play to build up and that'll be their mega fight, that's a good-ass fight. I don't want Keyshawn Davis to talk down upon it almost as if he's scared of Andy Cruz. It's like, bro, you're a gold medalist. Why are you chasing a silver medalist? Why are you chasing me? You already beat me 4 times. Yo, Keyshawn, that doesn't sound like, you business-like right now, bro. That sounds kind of scared. You're messing up the money. Like, don't try to downplay this fight. It's very important. And also, don't you want some get back? Like, let them know, all right, yeah, bro, you beat me 4 times, total of 12 rounds, but this is the amateurs with headgear, let me see, I'll beat you in the pros. But except that's not the tune that Keyshawn Davis is singing, right? It's quite the opposite. And I'm like, I don't know, Keyshawn, if I were you, I'd be like, look, bro, you beat me in the amateur circuit and in the amateur games. Salute to you. But this is championship fighting, and I'm on a whole different level. But see, that's not what Davis is saying, right? It's almost as if he's scared of Andy Cruz, and he doesn't want that pressure or people to be forcing him to fight Andy Cruz or even guys like Shakur Stevenson. Like, man, everyone is his brother. You know what I mean? Like, oh, man, that's my big bro. I'll never fight him. I'm like, nah, bro, fight him. I know you want Teofimo Lopez, but you're not on Teofimo Lopez's bracket. You don't really have a Jermaine Ortiz on your resume. Right now, prospect to prospect, you versus Andy Cruz, that's a respectable fight. That's a very good fight for both of you guys. You guys can fight right now, and then you guys can fight, 10 more fights after, and then you guys can fight when you guys are champions. But Keyshawn ain't singing that tune. It's almost like, a gold medalist is not supposed to be chasing the silver medalist, bro. He's like saying, leave me alone, bro. Leave me alone. It's crazy. And I'm surprised that nobody really calls out on Keyshawn Davis on that aspect, because it's like, yeah, Andy Cruz did beat you for 3 rounds, 9 minutes. But so what? Could he beat you for 10? Could he beat you in 12 rounds? And if Andy Cruz is calling you out, you should feel a type of way about it. At the end of the day, this is competition. And don't you want to be the best? Andy Cruz is looking to be one of those up-and-coming prospects that you might want to eliminate out of your, and have on your body of work. Pedraza is cool, but it is what it is. Vince Vargas goes, that March 16th card added Fernando Vargas Jr. as a co-main event, according to Jesse James's Guerrero's Instagram. Gabe Flores, Vargas, Guerrero, Jesus Chiquito Jarro in Stockton, California. Yo, let me highlight that, bro. I like that. Right on, man. Yeah, I've seen, Emiliano Vargas's brother. Oh no, you said Fernando Vargas Jr., not Emiliano El General. Yeah, I've seen Amado. And then Jesse James, right on. Gabe Flores and Chiquito Jarro in Stockton, California. Do you know who the main event is? Fernando Vargas Jr. has the co-main event. Right on. Yeah, that's good stuff right there, man. I'm actually excited for that, I don't know if I'll go over there like I did to the Ruben Villa or the Johnny Beck fight, but I might make my way over there. I'm not gonna talk bad about that that area, but yeah, man, the weather was really hot. It was like when we went, it was like 98, 101 degrees. And when I drove over there, I kid you not, we passed by like this power plant. It smelled extremely nasty, coupled with the humidity and the heat. And not only that, man, my car must have killed like 10,000 bugs. The windshield was flooded with insects and bugs. My grill of the car, the lower bumper, the roof rack, my goodness, man. I'm like, it was gross. And then the thing is like they damn near melted on there. Like if it was a a new car wrap. Like when I was washing it the next day over and scrubbing the snot out of it, those little bugs would not come off the roof rack. And I was like, damn. You know, I had to get a damn heat gun to melt them damn bastards off and scrub it all off. You know, even with the chemical guys, ointments and soaps, like, man, that was brutal. You know, and I was, I hadn't, yeah, that was insane. Vince Vargas goes, Gabe Flores Jr. is the main event because the card was surrounded by him. But if it's true, Vargas Jr. is dope, must have been selling tickets to add him. Oh, right on. Damn, I didn't even know Gabe Flores. All right. So since he's the main event, let me see if they have an opponent for him. Gabriel Flores. Box rec. Let's see. Maybe Drew nor Speed are in. Let me see who he's fighting. Gabe Flores. No, on box rec, nothing is announced. Damn, it's gonna be close to a whole year since Gabriel Flores hasn't fought. The last time he fought was the last fight that I went to with him when he KO'd Derek Murray in the first round. Wow. The flyer had Senior and Amado Vargas will be there. I don't know if Amado is fighting that night. Yeah, I know that Gabe Flores, they moved camp and they're training with the Vargas dynasty down south, you know, which is really interesting, you know, because Gabe Flores and his father, you know, they're up north, like Norteños basically, and then down south in LA, you know, Fernando Vargas and company. So it's really interesting how they're basically set their differences aside and are making things happen. That salute to them, bro. That's really cool stuff, man. All right, man. Let me see if Speed's on here. He found his headset. Nope, he's still not here. And neither is Drew. I think I talked about my Pokemon card addiction the other day, man. It's a little ridiculous, but I'm extremely happy. I gotta stop, dude. I really gotta stop. All right, man. Let's talk a little bit about Bill Haney. We talked about this in the past, right? And I guess one of the things that I want to say is, to preface this conversation, is Bernard Hopkins, of note, of recent memory, has been getting a lot of bashing from Bill Haney. And I don't really know exactly where this all started and the problem roots from, but Bill Haney only talks his shit when the cameras are on. Where Bernard Hopkins, if you feel a type of way towards BHOP and calling him a coon and all of these derogatory terms, man, you could have settled the beef right then and there in private when Bernard Hopkins called you out and told you, hey, let's go to the meet me in the restroom, right? But no, you didn't want to. You went on and talked your stuff and hid behind security and then started, you know, talking about RAZA and questioning Ryan Garcia and how he's ducking your son and all of these things. But you could have addressed the problem right then and there in privacy. And I don't know if I can respect that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like, man, fuck you, Ricky. Like, who are you? We don't need your respect. No, but what I'm saying is, man to man, I'm going to talk to you about certain things in private. I don't got to make it public. You know, I really don't, you know, and for the sake of conversation, you know, well, let's talk about it, right? So Bill Haney has been blasting Bernard Hopkins and questioning basically what does Bernard Hopkins represent? Like, what's your stance? Are you for your people? Are you for your culture? You know, he questions like his background and his validity and all of these things. And I want to do the same thing to Bill Haney as well, because see, Bernard Hopkins, he's a soldier, right? He was actually in the front lines, not literally like in the military at war, but he was a fighter. He's a boxer. He fought to change his life. He fought and he did a great job fighting amazing fighters and being undisputed and fighting the powers that be. While you, Bill Haney, right? If I'm not mistaken, you were poisoning your community with drugs. I mean, I could be wrong, but isn't that why he got locked up? Right? Bernard Hopkins did armed robbery, and I think you were slinging drugs in Oakland, right? So you were poisoning your own people. And just because you did your time for the crime, whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean that absolves you. You start off with we'll give you a clean slate, but then again, you're poisoning the hearts and minds of the people, and questioning your own brother. When if you had to do certain things like that, you should do it in privacy, right? But no, you're making it public. And again, I don't really remember exactly where the problem of this roots from, between if it was instigated by Bill or Bernard Hopkins. But yeah, man, I think it's very hypocritical of Bill Haney. Sure, you found religion in the prison, right? Sure, you look to be a changed man, but you also left Oakland, right? And you went to Las Vegas, right? Maybe you did some bad deals and burned bridges with your people. But I know that when you had your son fight, he fought in San Francisco versus Regis Prograis. Hell, Andre Ward fought this Colombian named Alexander or Christopher Brand. I attended that fight like back in 2016, and he fought at the Oracle or at the Oakland Coliseum. You didn't even bring your son Devin down there. In fact, it's very, very interesting. It's like Robert Garcia, and I wanted to let Speed cook on this, but actually he's here. And Robert Garcia had an interview where he's basically saying that Bill Haney did really good for the Mexican people in Tijuana and all of these small venues where his son was having his first, 16, 18 professional bouts. And he basically increased the quota of these fighters, whether in sparring or the venues, to charge a little more so they can pay their fighters a little more, right? So it looks like you're doing well by the brown people too. Bill Haney, like I said, he has a lot of color, race, rhetoric on his mind. He wants to talk about these problems and these issues. And, I'm all for it. It's a good topic of conversation. But the way he says it, it almost seems like he's holier than thou. You see, I have a lot of utmost respects to all these boxers, guys like Golden Boy and Bernard Hopkins. Yeah, I know they're flawed, but guess what? It's okay for them to be flawed. They're not going to be as sharp as someone that never took punches in their face, Bill. But Bernard Hopkins did. He fought Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, and the list goes on. He fought all of these dudes. What were you doing? You had a different hustle, and that was poisoning the water of your people, right? That was probably pimping and running game on them. So that's just the reality of it. And it's also funny is this, quote unquote, your people, Bill, they side with Tank Davis more than they do with you. Don't they always hate on you? Don't they call your son a private school kid and all of these things? And for some reason, if somebody calls me a private school kid, like, I'm not even gonna be offended by that. Like, I'm just being like, so what? That's the purpose of higher education. Like, that's the purpose of moving up into a wealthier bracket. Like, I want to be literate. I want to be smart. If I don't have to be a soldier, doesn't mean I have the right to poison my community. I got to uplift everybody. But, it's funny, Bill Haney, like I said, he's very hypocritical. For as sharp as he wants to be, man, he's damn near one of the most ignorant people that I hear when they give him the mic and the camera to his face. And it saddens me, and that doesn't saddens me. It just irks me because a lot of these people behind the camera, they don't question it. They just let him ramble on, right? And Bernard Hopkins, as shrewd and smart as he is, he's not going to be able to beat Bill Haney on these certain conversations. That's why he gets physical. He'll push Bill and hey man, meet me in the restroom. But like man to man, that's honorable and that's like a lot of respect. It's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, and the cameras aren't gonna be here. And Bill Haney, you duck the smoke. Like you really do. Look, I have no. How do I explain this? I don't care if you're the mouthpiece of your son. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to protect your son and be his brother's keeper, so to speak, for the rest of your life, right? That's where the fathers, you will never stop being a father to Devin. So you're 105 years old, 99, 85, 78. It doesn't matter. You will always be his father, and you have a duty, even if Devin Haney is 56 years old and you're 85. You still got to do your job and protect him. That's still your children. That's still your son. So I don't care if you're going to always be on his side and back in his corner. That's what you're supposed to do. But I don't think you have to bash and like always just harangue Bernard Hopkins over certain issues that are like above your pay grade,
About making good
so to speak. The
relations.
validity of Ryan Davis. And shout out to that woman on that video. And I
Yeah.
showed you guys in that video in the past when he asked Bill Haney, what does La Raza mean? You didn't have one answer to it. And when she doubled down after you said, well, is Ryan a badass? And she was like, man, I saw him fight in Texas. You seem like a badass to me. And you were like one person. And all those other men out there on that video, man, disgraceful. I'm not saying you have to like pump out your chest and be argumentative, but no, you can speak amicably and get your point across and be like, look, bro, again, it's kind of hypocritical of me because like I'm not the biggest Ryan Garcia fan. No, I'm defending him, but in terms of his actions, because he moves extremely weird and things of this nature. But for the sake of because we got who is it, the Mexican G, or all these people questioning us as well. But um, yeah, it's really annoying, bro. Like it's really annoying. Vince Vargas goes, the Flyer had Senior and Amado. Oh, my bad. Wait, maybe I read that. The Flyer had Senior and Amado. Vargas will be there. Don't know if I'm okay. I read that. Amado on the card too. Guest commentator Nonito Donaire. Man, I love Nonito Donaire.
Yeah. Wow. That's gonna be a good
I got
little
the almost respect for him.
event.
Great fighter, man. Great fighter. That Naoya Inoue fight, even that Rigondeaux fight was insane. Um, he was getting outboxed completely, lands a knockdown, and then Rigondeaux shuts his eye. That was crazy to me, man. That was crazy to me. I've never seen anything like that. That performance was badass. Hey, yo, Speed, what happened to you, bro? You find your headset or not, man? Hold on. He said in a private. Oh, he's back on. He's back on. Mic check, bro. Can you hear me? On the lobby.
Yeah.
One.
Homie Ricky, can you hear me? Can
No,
you
I'm
hear
on,
me?
bro.
One
You
two
can
one two.
hop in
Can you
and
hear me?
chime in.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yo, what's going on with you, man? Real quick, mic check. Can you hear me?
What? Can you hear me? Here. Can you, 1 2 1 2. Hey, homie Ricky, can you hear me or no?
Damn,
Wow.
I can't hear you, bro.
That's horrible.
Yo.
The host has unmuted your mic. It says. Can you hear me?
Shit, I guess it's my computer. Let me opt out real quick.
Okay. Yeah, because it's saying that you unmuted me. So I reckon that means that you muted me initially. And if you can hear me, and I reckon that you can, I would say that's the fact that my icon is sort of getting this wide ring around it would indicate that yes, I am transmittable and audible, and that sounds like a good thing. And yep, Mr. Vince Vargas just confirmed that yes, he can hear your
Okay,
speed.
perfect. I can hear you now, man. I was having issues on my end.
Man, homie Ricky, it's been a little long time, hasn't it, that I've hopped on one of these lives. Thank you very much for inviting me to again. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to uh, mingle with you folks, to exchange ideas. And I see that you started taking some of the points that I'm wanting to make with regards to this whole Mr. Bill Haney issue, right? This, I don't know what else to call it besides debacle, right? Um, I'm a big fan of the Haneys, oh, homie. I love that family. I love the idea that there is a father that believes in his son so much that he's able to maneuver him politically and professionally in the sport of boxing with such confidence. I love Devin Haney as a fighter. I love his development. I love how steadfast he is at improving himself and proving himself. But there's just some things about Mr. Bill Haney that just don't make sense to me, right? Like, for example, why does he focus so much on things related to race and skin color? And I believe I'm the one that directed your attention to his comments most recently. I think his son had that press conference in the state of New York and the city of New York, if I'm mistaken, where they were promoting the upcoming 4/20/2024 bout between his son Devin the Dream Haney and King Ryan Garcia, which apparently is still being fought over where it's going to take place. I guess it's going to take place in New York. Ryan Garcia wants it in Las Vegas. I don't know what's going on there. But, anyways, he ended up saying some things about Mr. Bernard Hopkins, right? And we've already talked about the similarities between both BHs, Bill Haney and Bernard Hopkins. And we've also talked about the similarities between Hopkins and Haney the fighter. Both undisputed, both black fellas, both of them said the same thing, which they said they never lose to a white boy. Um, but when Mr. Bill Haney opens up his mouth, there's just some kind of trauma there. And it makes me think, what is it about this this man that thinks black people should be united? Like if black people and brown people should be separated of nothing more than color, right? And he almost insinuates that BHOP is a type of traitor to his own people by working with a brown man and having good cordial business relations with them. And this brown man, of course, we are referring to Ryan Garcia, and not to his fellow black man like the Haneys. Now, I don't know where he thinks he's supposed to have this relationship with him in the first place. They've never done business with each other, right? They, the only thing is we've, of course, dug in deep. We discovered that Mr. Bernard Hopkins had mentioned that in the fight, in a possible fight between Ryan Garcia, who is a fighter that he promotes, and Devin Haney, which is a fighter that he doesn't, that Ryan Garcia would be the A side solely because people know him. And it wouldn't matter how many belts he had or how many accomplishments young Devin Haney would have amassed. It wouldn't have mattered because the A side has nothing to do with belts. It has to do with popularity and the drive to bring in more money to the sport. And I think there's a median there, right? I think there's, the right way to do it is somewhere closer to like Mayweather and Canelo, which is they can do both things. That's when you become the true A side. There's no question about it. You become not only the A side, you become the cash cow. But ever since they had that little tit for tat, right? It's always been a question of the other man. Is the other man doing the right thing for their people? And I directed your attention to that video right there where he questions Bill Hopkins and he says, "You've done good work, and I applaud you," he said, "for doing good relations with the brown man, your fighter." And of course, that was Ryan Garcia, because they had that big old back and forth. Ryan Garcia thought that, Golden Boy and Hopkins betrayed him. But he says, "What have you done for our people? What have you done for my people?" And he, of course, made it about color. And I was thinking, right? I was thinking, Bernard Hopkins, what does he have to do for the black man? All he has to do is give him an opportunity, right? We've talked about this. Oscar de la Hoya, what does he have to do for the brown man? All he has to do is give them an opportunity. And in fact, in the sport of boxing, BHOP is only doing the right thing according to business. And business and race and matters of skin color are two different things. They are excluded and separated one of another. Now, when I hear Devin Haney's father talk about doing something extra for their people, I got to question whether or not I can trust a person that speaks like that, right? If Mr. Devin, if Mr. Bill Haney ever becomes a promoter, a la the Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, and Golden Boy, if I know that he prefers to do things for his own people, I may question taking my fighter who just happens to be a light-skinned brown individual, and my son, and that's who mostly were the people that work with us, I would question whether I can do business with them. I would question whether every time a fight is set up where there's a black colored individual against my fighter, if everything's been set up to benefit them because it's their people. And I find it ironic, right? That these two men, these two professional men that have done so much in the sport of boxing, that are very similar, both ex-felons, both of them post jailbirds, both of them having been released from prison on good conduct, both of them having accomplished so much in the sport. One created an undisputed fighter, the other one, in and of itself, an undisputed fighter. That these guys would bicker so much about the things that they don't have in common, which is a bond based on skin color. And I think that's the right thing. They shouldn't have a bond based off skin color. And in fact, any other thing that they have a bond about, maybe that's something to open up the doors of communication and understanding. But to try to belittle another man's repertoire, his accomplishments, and his character by saying he's not doing enough for their people, I think that's low down and dirty. I think that's treacherous. And I don't know if Mr. Bill Haney is representing the sport of boxing in America or if he's just representing it for the black man. And the reason why I question that, homie Ricky, is because a lot of people have insinuated that certain fighters don't fight each other because they have this truce between them not to fight because they want to dominate the sport of boxing due to color. There's fighters that are black that won't face other black fighters. They talk a big one and they say a big one, but they never actually fight between each other. But they always take on the brown man, the white man, the European man, whatever it is, but never each other. And now I'm starting to question whether all those insinuations, all those rumors that some people travel in similar circles and they just instigate to bring attention to their plights, but yet never face each other. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe black fighters, certain black fighters, are talking between themselves about how best to run the sport by taking on other fighters, but never themselves. And if that's the case, the sport of boxing is in a bad place because we might not get to see a lot of the fighters that are ranked or some of the best fights just due to the fact that they believe there's this commonality and mutual understanding between themselves that should never be violated because of something as simple as the color that got upon birth.
Yeah, no. There's definitely a lot of that going on. There's definitely of that topic going on around in terms of behind the scenes between these guys. You can say, but you know what? That's not for me. I don't think that's really a problem because I feel like the Eastern Europeans, they do the same thing as well. You see, how long was Bivol and Beterbiev? How long did they not fight one another? Right? They waited till they cleared out the whole division. Then they're finally fighting one another. You see what I'm saying? So these guys have done the same thing too. Same thing with fighters like Gennady Golovkin, right? They didn't move or about. They respected it, and I'm okay with that. Like that's not really a big problem with me. But I will say this. What is one of the best ways to to break bread with your people? And that is to feed them. That is to give them employment. That is to give them money. To my notion, Devin Haney and Bill Haney have only fought one Black American fighter, and that is Regis Prograis. And I don't know about you, but that was one of the most ignorant press conference buildups between not even Regis himself, but his strength and conditioning coach and Devin and Bill. It was like, bro, it was cringy watching that press conference and that buildup. I was just like, bro, what do you like? This is fucking ignorance. Like, I don't care about this shit. Like, you guys are not selling me a fight. This is like some fabricated animosity, right? And if that, like, those fight, like, if again, if somebody called me a private school kid, oh, you a private school kid? So what? Like, and I'm still gonna beat you up. Like, what are we talking about here? You see what
Yo,
I'm saying?
man.
It's the most ridiculous
Oh,
thing.
oh,
And
oh,
the
what's
way
going
I
on?
look at it is like this, right? Going back to what is the best way to feed your people and take care of your people? Well, is to earn together, is to move up in life together. Floyd Mayweather talks about in retirement form, or how he wants to unite people and he wants to do good business with his people. Bro, at the end of your career, you damn near fought every Latino and made them rich.
Mhm.
You didn't even fight many black fighters at the very end of your career. And you felt bad and you finally gave Andre Berto an opportunity, right? Devin Haney, he's only fought one black American fighter, Regis Prograis. The rest have been like um, Latinos or Mexicans, and then Vasily Lomachenko, George Kambosos, and Yurukis Gamboa, and Jorge Linares, all these guys. You know, when they try to make a relatively big fight, right, between Shakur Stevenson, you offered a pound for pound fighter, a 3-time divisional champion, right? You can basically say pennies on the dollar. The only a mandatory fee, 25%. And then you guys went on to say, man, even then that was too much. Look at the way you acted. So it's the funniest thing. It's like, Bill, you talk about what have you done for your people. How many mouths have you fed in terms of the professional game? Yeah, sure, you give to the community. I'm sure that you do. I'm sure that you have donations and homeless drives and do all these things. But you're just making up for what you were doing again, poisoning them back when you were in your 20s, hustling and selling drugs. Like that doesn't absolve you. Like you're finally doing the right thing that you're supposed to do. But you could have been doing it back then. Now at the end of the day, it's like this. Look, man, everybody gets second or third or fourth chances, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. But again, this is one of those chances where like this is another opportunity to right or wrong. You see, and yeah, yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, man. I just
Yeah,
think
man.
I know I started kind of raspy there. But nah, I was just thinking about like that whole thing. I didn't think you guys were talking about that. I really had to like listen in for a couple minutes to see what the hell the topic was, and I'm just thinking about it. I'm looking at his resume. I'm like thinking, these are all dudes he needed to take care of, in order to get to the top. You know, like I see what you're saying though. Like there's a big coincidence and a majority. I mean, like in majority of black fighters not fighting each other and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
think that was Speed's take. But as far as Devin, I mean, I think he's getting to the part where he's, forced to actually fight the black fighter. I mean, Matthias is still black, bro. He's going to fight him, bro. And I just feel like it's just a coincidence more than anything that he's not fighting black fighters. You can say that for other fighters maybe, but I'm just trying to think for Devin, like who do you have to fight that was black in 135? It's really just Tank, bro. Like he
he
and
didn't
he's
know.
a
I mean, there was Tank, there was Shakur.
no, Shakur
There's
wasn't in the
a
division
short
yet.
list of fighters.
But he wasn't in the division yet.
Who, Shakur?
Shakur.
No,
Yeah.
but he still was in the Division 2 fight. I mean, he didn't fight him and then he moved up. You know what I mean?
But Shakur turned it down. Like that's him. That was Shakur. But I guess I see what you're saying, like in general, like that right there, like that Shakur with the fact that Shakur turned down the fight is kind of like, making them look bad. They're supposed to do each other kind of not favors, but like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and it's going to be a successful event type of thing. To be able to fight each other and as a professional fighter, like they shouldn't have taken that for granted. And shit. Yeah, I see what you're saying, shit like that. But as far as 135, I mean, he needed to get through Loma. He needed to get through Loma. He needed to get to Cambosis. That one was really not handed to him, but Cambosis pulled out the upset. That's why he was so hyped that he beat Tio, because he knew he was gonna whoop that ass and actually get the shot at the belt. But I mean, he didn't really have to fight too many black dudes, black fighters, bro. Like honestly, like he did what he needed to do to get to where he's at right now. Like it's just a big coincidence, and I feel like he will end up fighting more black fighters. Uh, from now on, because he's
Yeah.
actually that
But you know,
there is one. there is a lot of talent, black fighters at 140 that are actually good.
Yeah, but I
And
first I just wanted to make sure that we clear it up, right? I didn't want to make it about that topic because the matter of fact is that if we start going down that angle of subject, right? Which is that the black fighters have been ducking each other or have a mutual understanding that they won't fight each other and just circle around each other, fighting everybody else. That is likely something that's going to be hard to prove. We can speculate. We can use some of the words as that some of these fighters have been saying. Like I believe Keyshawn Davis said he wouldn't fight Shakur Stevens because I think they're like stable mates or something to that effect, which goes back to the same thing that the Charlos once said about Erislandy Lara. They wouldn't fight him because they're stable mates. Um, and likely because Erislandy Lara back then would have was beating on
It
both of them.
happened with the Charlos as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
Oh,
Erislandy
okay.
Lara, they said they wouldn't fight him. In reality, it may have also had to do with the fact that from the rumors, Erislandy Lara was always putting hands on these guys. And it also has to do with the fact that every time any fighter is around Money Mayweather, they all have some nice things to say about him. But guess what? Tank Davis hangs around Mayweather. Shakur Stevens hangs around Mayweather. Devin Haney hangs around Mayweather. And what do they have in common? None of them have fought each other, right? Now, we can just insinuate. But what I'm trying to get at is this, Drew. We are talking about Mr. Bill Haney, a man who is chastising, basically criticizing and castigating uh, Bernard Hopkins, a legend in the sport, because he has, according to him himself, done good relations with one brown man, Brian Garcia, which in fact other brown men discredit. Other brown men don't accept them as one of theirs, right? We just had a couple of episodes back talking about whether Ryan Garcia was Rasa. Bill Haney walking up to brown people asking him, "Is he Rasa?" And they all turn on him. There's a guy that he's apparently doing a good business relationship with, and he's not even recognized as legitimately a Mexican American, Chicano, or a brown man by the brown man. So it's funny that Bill Haney thinks a person that's not even considered brown is something they should criticize Bernard Hopkins when, like the homie Ricky just mentioned. In fact, Mr. Bill Haney has done so much for the brown man, not his own people, the brown man, that he's actually paid the most money when he goes to spar and train and fight in Mexico, that he's actually changed the market for how much a fighter takes over there in Mexico. So if we just consider who's done more for the opposite skin colored people, by far, it's likely gonna be Bill Haney. He's done more for boxers that Mr. Bernard Hopkins has. Bernard Hopkins has promoted him, but he's never really given him any, quick money, because that's what's basically insinuated when we say that that BHOP went to Mexico to pay these guys fighters thousands. He's basically admitting to paying them more than they were worth. And that's how he changed the market for Mexican prize fighters over there to take the recompense for a fight. So I find it ironic that whenever these guys, these two older established gentlemen who, for the most part, do maneuver themselves to speak so eloquently and carry themselves in a distinguished fashion, that whenever it comes to each other, they just see the blinders and they fail to realize how closely similar they are.
Yeah, no, closely similar they are.
It's just the same thing, huh?
Yeah, I'm on that repeater phase. No,
Yeah,
man,
bro.
that's a very good point. I want to highlight a few of the things that you were talking about, and or emphasize and go to a little different direction, if I may. Devin and Bill got all this knowledge and game by lingering around a black man, Floyd Mayweather. And when there was an opportunity to make money with your people, Bill, you went and signed with the white man and Eddie Hearn. And that's why Floyd Mayweather burns bridges with you guys. Because Shakur, just like your son and yourself, they didn't sign to Floyd Mayweather. You guys went to counterparts. You guys went to the competition. So again, Bill, like, where is this narrative coming from, right? That he always has La Raza and black versus brown narrative conversations at the tip of his tongue. It's like, bro, if you're all about black supremacy and my people and what you've done, you're not even like, you did sign one of a black fighter from Oakland, Amari Prince Jones, but you stole that from a brown man. You stole that. You poached that fighter that knew he had talent. And then just like, I don't want to go too much into detail of this because I've talked about local fighters here that did the same thing too. But you basically excluded their trainers just so you can steal all the talent, just because you had a little more access and resources than them. When you quote unquote had to get it out the mud, you didn't let some of your talent get it out the mud and bring their people in there that when they were broke together. So again, it's like, look, man, with Bill, he's like, I feel like he uses a lot of people just to fit his narrative and his agenda, right? And you don't really need to do all that stuff because Ryan Garcia really don't have a lot of fans at this current time and place, right? When he was coming up, sure, he did. But now a lot of stuff, it's a lot of self-inflicted wounds. You don't need to bring up these narratives because Ryan is tarnishing his own reputation by himself, burning bridges with his promoters. Now he's trying to piece them together. I think they broke bread and made amends with him and Bernard Hopkins. He was like bashing Golden Boy and the whole divorce situation. Like, he's ruining his own reputation on those aspects. You don't need to, throw more dirt on this pile because Ryan's doing it himself, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I-
Drew. Yeah.
yeah. It's and what I realize is a lot of these fighters are trying to duplicate what Mayweather did. They're trying to do that green print, Mexican versus black, and
Yep.
I feel like it's a different ball game now. They're trying to duplicate it in a different time, and I feel like the real currency is really in fighting. It's black. This is black versus black. They're trying to find out who the best black fighter is. So like, they're trying to copy that same motto, and they're even Bill. I mean, I'm the ultimate Bill defender, right? Like honestly, I see
What
nothing
you
wrong.
mean?
I see nothing wrong with Bill, bro. Like, honestly, but um, what's it called? I think he's trying to hype up a lot of his son's fights, and I think it works. It works to a certain extent, and I feel like he's trying to be as genuine as possible, and he's trying to be a businessman at the same time while coaching, So I think it's gonna come off as wrong because he does everything for Devin, that's his manager or everything. So I mean, he's just trying to negotiate as well, and I think it's not necessarily backfiring on him. It's just not working, and it's a different time now. I think he gotta, yeah, I think he gotta, yeah, just like that's the thing. He's doing no wrong. I think he's just got to take a different angle in this game. I think he really gotta go in like as far as social media and just like and just let these kids talk. Let Devin talk a little more and act a little more like his coach. Because he's playing all the roles right now, and people not really like taking it the right way. But for me, I think he's like being a multitasker. That's the way I see it. He's doing
Yeah,
everything
no,
for him.
he for sure is a multitasker, and he's really good at it as well. He knows the ins and outs of the game. Like, no, I'm not. That's not where I'm getting with it. You know what I'm saying? The way I look at it is like this, right? He's all about what he's done for his people, right? Especially when he goes on and basically shits all over Bernard Hopkins. And what I'm
Mm,
saying is, Bernard Hopkins, he's been fighting his own battles, right? He's done his version of the hard work. He's a soldier. He's in the front line. He's a fighter. He fought for a living. And then we have basically an outsider in Bill Haney, where he was not a professional fighter, right? But he's street savvy. He's smart. He knows how to
But as
allocate
far as
his
that,
resources. Say again.
as far as that, those two guys, they've both been locked up, man. So they both have this sense of pride that they have, bro. Like they don't like they know how to push each other's buttons, and you can tell like he really got under his skin.
Yeah, but that's what I'm
Bill,
saying. Is they're more similar than they are different.
exactly.
Like they're way more similar than they are different. And if there is a story or a redemption tale between the two, it's like, why are you trying to shit and be like, who's the more righteous man between you? That's why I'm saying that Bill Haney is hypocritical. I don't care if he's going to
Mm,
protect his son or be a multitasker for his son, be promoter, manager, spokesperson. That's what you're supposed to do. Like that's his fucking son for life. You know what I mean? That's like he's supposed to feel the way he's supposed to feel about his fighter and about his son, more importantly.
mm.
But what I'm saying when it comes down to his relationship or this battle that he's going on with Bernard Hopkins, it's extremely hypocritical. You see what I'm saying? This charade of bringing down and breaking or trying to embarrass another black man in Bernard Hopkins. You know what I mean? In public, when Bernard Hopkins tried to check you in private and be like, man, if you feel a type of way, let's handle this like man when the cameras are not on. You see?
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Bill kept
Yeah,
calling Bernard Hopkins a coon, but every single time that you're going on public worldwide
true.
and bashing another black man, well, what the fuck do you call that, Bill?
Yeah, and honestly, you can go
The same thing
online.
that you're criticizing Bernard for doing is what you're doing to Bernard, but you're doing it in front of the whole world.
Right, and I think
And
it's
when you
more
had an
the
opportunity to do business with black people like Floyd Mayweather and Al Heyman and PBC, you took your fighter to a white man. And for him to teach you the ins and outs and help you.
that's true. But guess what? He
There is
works
no
for a
guess what. That's the truth.
no, but I know exactly. But Bernard works for a Mexican man.
I
He
know, but
that
a
it comes with the
Mexican man,
territory.
that were on the front line, battling and fighting one another.
Yeah, but
You
I think
see,
it comes with the territory.
if you and me are ex-Marines, right, and we held the front line together and we were working, I don't care if you're white, Asian. At the end of the day, you're my brother in arms. So
Well,
that's
are you
Golden
Air
Boy,
Force?
Shane Mosley, and Bernard Hopkins. They teamed up all together because they fought damn near all one another multiple times. So they're like, you know what? Let's do business together because, quote unquote, you are my brother. You are my people. I'm not looking at it from a black and brown. Like, nah, bro, you fucking ate some of my punches. You dropped me, you beat me, and let's do business together.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also
That's
comes
grown
with the.
man shit.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Grown man.
I was just
Oh,
playing
sorry,
devil's.
sorry, sorry. Grown man.
I was just I was just playing devil's advocate, but yeah, no, I think it comes with the territory, as far
You
as
might
like
get my
him
blood
being a
pressure up, man. I'm losing my voice.
as far as him being a promoter and shit like that. I think it comes with the territory. But I see what you're saying. Online stuff, or I mean, not the online stuff, but the fact that I think I said this like a couple lives ago. Like Bill was like all up in his face, and that's where I was like, okay, bro, like honestly, Bill, like that's where you gotta like step away, like that's personal space right there, and Bill, and I mean, and Bernard, he needed to like, get away from him. So I mean, he kind of ticked him off and got too close to him. I mean, he just wanted space,
Yeah.
and he got it.
So,
But
gentlemen, let
yeah,
me ask you
all right,
something,
yeah.
right? Do you guys think Mr. Bill Haney plays a persona? Or do you guys think
No,
that so you think these statements
well,
that he makes on the flight have honest some honesty behind them?
it comes
And,
with good. I'm not sure if they're true, but it comes with good intention.
Yeah,
okay.
no, he's honest. You see what I'm saying? He's
Okay.
not playing
So
a persona because they have a hype man that they pay that lingers around, and he's always making rhymes. I don't know if he was in this press conference, but you know what I'm talking about? He's like a guy that wears like a tux and he's like always making rhymes. And he's like, Devin Haney is time to shine. If he beats you with the jab, he's going to beat you with the right. And then, you know what I'm talking about? You guys have seen him, right?
Yeah,
no.
Okay, so that's the persona that they have. Devin and Bill, they don't play a persona.
yeah,
Bill
that's
don't
who they
play a
are.
Okay.
persona. You know what I'm saying?
Then
Like,
I just have to ask you guys, if that is the case, what do you guys think about these statements that Mr. Bill Haney states. Uh, Bill Haney stated that apparently Devin Haney stamped that retirement of a Mr. Floyd Money Mayweather. Not too sure if you guys know this, but what Mr. Bill Haney has most recently stated is that the reason why Mr. Mayweather, decided to retire is because young Haney sparred Floyd Mayweather back in 2017, and that it wasn't even close, quote unquote, and that's when Mayweather, quote unquote, knew he had to pass the torch. So, no, okay, I'm asking
A
you guys.
17-year-old and Devin Haney beat Floyd Mayweather in sparring. Yeah, yeah, let's go with
This
that.
is what he says. This is what he
Uh,
says. He goes on and says, quote, he should have shown the sparring video of him and Devin, said Mr. Bill Haney to the media about Floyd Mayweather. It wasn't even close. It was like Floyd was looking in the mirror. It was before the Conor McGregor fight that he finally decided that he could no longer be in boxing with no real fighters. Devin is the one who stamped that. That's what he said. He knew the torch had to be passed, and he passed it to Devin because it was either forced or it is what it is right now. We should be challenging him like we're challenging everyone else. There's nobody in boxing in around the division. He's not looking to fight. It's what he said about all of these fighters, according to Devin Haney after he quote unquote retired. Now, so if you guys think that this is not a persona,
No,
this
no,
is
he's
said.
just saying that. Look, I didn't mean to interrupt you rudely, but he's just saying that because supposedly Floyd showed him the sparring of Tank versus Devin to Ryan. That's just a counterpoint. They probably brought up that in the interview and conversation, and he's just like, "Well, why don't you guys ask Floyd Mayweather? The reason why he retired is because Devin beat him when he was a kid." Like that's just that little banter. But before that, bro, there's something more important here, bro. There's one thing we've been working with your boy. Look at this on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Look at this. The kid shoots a two. He rolls off, counters, and slips with the two. The guy throws another two. He blocks it and then shoots another two. Check this out. Check this out. This is beautiful. Infighting right here. Watch. Boom, boom. Boom, bah, boom, bah. Watch the hand and he blocks all shots. Look. Boom, block, boom. Look at this. Looping four, pulls back, shoots a two, blocks the two, shoots a two. Woo-hoo! Let's do it again. Like some Game Boy shit. Boom, bah, bah.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that you
y se baja la cintura and he rolls and he shoots a three to the body and a four. Now we're getting that Mexican style in this, bro. In the pocket. Once we develop that,
yeah. So one of the things that I liked, yeah, he's doing, and that's just one thing that you taught him. That you taught him over the weekend, right? In a couple of days. That's why I've been wanting to get you to train with him. So there was this one other move right there that I really loved, right? He threw. No, see, okay, so that's good, but there was one where he set it up with the long arm. I've tried to work with my son to work on the long arm, especially for the shorter fighters, obviously, because he's always going to have the advantage with reach. Well, not always, but so I told him to use use the long arm, jab it, manipulate your arm in different ways to throw your jab, hold it up there slowly, just throw it out there, use it as a way to block their peripheral view, and then come over with the left, and now with the two, I mean. And if you notice, there's this one place where he just keeps his hand out there and he controls the kid.
I think it was the second round. Yeah,
the second round. Yeah, he gets it. He pushes the kid's head down, and then he comes with like a uppercut or something. I was very impressed with that fight. But of course, homie, he is against a fighter that brings out the best in him. The jab, the long arm, the countering. See, like right there, you see that?
Yeah,
Go back again.
Well,
Go back again. I want to see that.
The biggest problem with
right before that, look.
The biggest problem with Joseph here Boom.
There you go. You see that?
Oh,
Yeah, I
Did you see
see
how
it.
he
Well,
manipulated? Yeah. So
that's measuring. That's measuring.
yeah.
You know, it's almost like pawing with the jab, but it's measuring your shots. And it's essentially a stiff arm, and then you measure with the shots, and then boom, you follow it with the two. Like you were saying, you blind them. Yeah, no, that used to be our bread and butter. You know, but the biggest problem was, well, Mo was very effective here, but Joseph's problem was he don't really slip, and he didn't really incorporate his head movement. And I don't know what it was that he didn't, because when I've seen Joseph fight, you know, it's a fighter from King City, and when I've seen him fight the other guys of Giovanni Sanchez and company, bro, that dude was ruthless. And he was always slipping in head, like, you know, he was like a Sean Porter, you know, which was why, you know, me and your boy, we were kind of nervous up into the, you know, we had to have a little prayer session and, you know, just talk shop and, you know, talk momentum and talk about the game plan a little bit. But yeah, man, he just stayed there and he just like, "Ah, this dude ain't gonna bug me with the jab." And all night it was just snapping his head back, bah, bah, bah. You can hear the vertebrae, you know, pop. You know.
Yeah, and I think the kid also had a an off night. I know that he's been the one who's been instigating this fight. He's always called for this fight, so maybe he just built up the fight in his own mind too much. And then when you're faced with the fighter before you, guess what? There's been development. There's been a couple of things we've been working on. But that kid right there, yeah, he is. He is much more experienced. He is equal height. I mean, equal weight. But
Yeah.
he's very much a feisty fighter. If he wants to rematch, we'll give it to him.
He's 3 years older, Frank. So
Yeah.
he's got much better punch technique and more experience. Mind you, he's also like a road warrior. You know, I have a lot of respect for Joseph. That kid, he travels to a lot of gyms, and I know that he's taking his craft very serious because I believe he was enrolled at the Ruben Villa gym as well. So he was getting quality sparring as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and
I love Mr. Bergen.
well, because we can't fight a shorter kid on the inside, you know, because he's got.
Yeah,
he's got
yeah. Come on, Mr. Frank Bay. You know this.
Come on,
You-
man.
you- you're not supposed to. Come on, man. You're never gonna let.
No, man, no. Let's not. We deviated a little bit, man. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
that was running over the
So
tape,
again, so I just wanted to. I guess in closing of that
we
whole.
talked about this, man. I'm tired of this conversation. Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to say.
Right. Andy Cruz versus Keyshawn Davis, man. What's your guys' take? Drew, Speed. What you know? What do you guys look at, man? What are you talking about?
Okay,
Yeah,
but let
man.
me set this one
Go
up.
ahead.
Let me set this one up. Okay,
Go,
so
go, man.
in case you guys don't know what's going on, right? Andy Cruz just fought over the past weekend, and Keyshawn Davis fought about 3 weeks ago. Keyshawn Davis knocked out and knocked down and stopped a very experienced, former champion, and Jose Pedraza, the Puerto Rican fighter who's only been knocked out by Gervonta Tank Davis and beaten convincingly. Well, actually, quite toughly with Lomachenko, right? And he's lost to all these other 140 pounders, Jose Ramirez, and so forth and so on. But long story short, he had a stellar performance, and he ended up calling Teofimo Lopez. Another long story short is that Andy Cruz and Keyshawn Davis have this amateur experience and even Olympic experience going back years, and Andy Cruz from Cuba has always gotten the best of Keyshawn Davis. 4 wins to 0 losses against Keyshawn Davis. Now, Keyshawn Davis's professional career is about 10 fights more than Andy Cruz's. And of course, he has top ranked the best promoter in the game, Mr. Bob Arum. And Andy Cruz is just most recently signed with Mr. Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn has a lot of confidence and Andy Cruz's abilities. Now, Andy Cruz has just hinted, and he's just rubbed it in the face of Keyshawn Davis that he's beaten him before. That's all really he's really done, right? He's never really said, I want to fight him or nothing like that. Keyshawn Davis has always responded back to him. And in fact, he once told Mr. Eddie Hearn, if you want that fight, send me an offer. And he soon after, he deleted that tweet or X or whatever you want to call it. Not after, though, Mr. Eddie Hearn had screenshotted as evidence. Well, when they started to discover that Keyshawn Davis had deleted the tweet after he had asked Mr. Hearn to send him an offer, it looked quite cowardly. It looked quite, how should we say it, Gervonta Davis-ish, right? Well, he says something, deletes it, and all of a sudden, all these people have to speculate what it all means. Well, most recently, and Keyshawn Davis, and I believe this is a valid point. He stated, "Why is the gold medalist chasing?" And he's referring to the fact that when they were in the Olympics, Andy Cruz took the gold, Keyshawn Davis took the silver. And he's insinuating that it is quite cowardly for Andy Cruz to want to instigate a fight with him because he's already his master. He's already the person that's been victorious in 4 fights. He doesn't understand why somebody that's obviously much better would continue to call a person that he's already beaten. And I do agree with that, right? Because here's the thing. When I was in high school, and I may have told you guys the story, right? I used to get into a lot of street fights. I won a lot of them. I beat up some crazy guys that I can't even imagine right now that I would have even done it. Because now in hindsight, you think about that and you're like, whoa, that's luck. There was no way you should have won that. But in real time, of course, all you do is throw punches. However it happens, you come out on top, and that's it. But I developed a reputation for being very ugly, crooked teeth, curly haired, pimply faced kid that was always getting into fights but always winning. Now, this one guy beat me up convincingly. I mean, I'm talking about landed 30 punches to none of mine, and he ended up body slamming me. Yeah, I know I'm old fashioned. So after the fight, the whole school was watching, and I stretch out my hand and I tell him, "You're the better man." And what he does is he gets my hand, he pulls it towards him, and then he juices the other hand to punch me even cleaner in the face.
Oh damn.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
that like
horrible.
blew your
And
shit up, bro. Damn.
yeah, oh man. And now it was in front of the whole high school. It was ninth grade. Everybody found
Did
out
you
about
cry?
it. They all met out in the field. It was
Did you
ridiculous.
cry?
No, 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 I didn't cry because in the adrenaline you don't
Right.
really feel much. And I wasn't really too bad off. Like I had a busted nose and I think a little shiner developed under my eye. But long story short, I did pretty good holding myself up, at least when it comes to the thick skin of it, right? But what ticked this guy off is that when people found out that he beat me, they couldn't believe it. They said, "You can't beat him. You can't beat Warp Speed. He's beating this guy. He's beating that guy. He's beating that guy. He's beating this guy who obviously you're afraid of. You got lucky." And ever since then, he continued to chase the fight. He would run into me and start mad dogging and say, "What's up?" Back over here in the West Coast, they throw like the hands, like they open up and they throw fingers, and they're always saying like, "Let's bring it." They bring the fingers down, they curl them up and say, "Come over here." And I would be like, "I'm cool." I'm cool, right? Um, one day he ends up running to me years after, and we're I think 17 now. I've already been kicked out of continuation school, and long story short, he runs into me, and he's in the vehicle, and I'm waiting on the bus stop, and he throws his hands like, "Let's go." Right now, there was nobody around, and I gotta say, I
Whoa,
understand.
whoa.
I
Keep
gotta
moving.
understand. What I'm trying to say is this:
Long
I
story short, man.
understand both of these guys as fighters, right? Keyshawn Davis is in the position where I was, where there is a guy that had already beaten me convincingly, and I never wanted to get that comeuppance. I never
Wow.
con. I never because it was so convincing, right?
Man,
But here's
Keyshawn
the thing.
Davis right now on a professionally, he beats Andy Cruz, man.
But the other thing is this:
He
I
beats Andy
also
Cruz.
I also understand Andy Cruz because I was Andy Cruz, right? I was the guy who could beat everybody. So I wish that I could be in the position of Andy Cruz and say, "Hey, I would like to fight that guy," but I find it to be cowardly. But yet I also to ask for the guy that you already beat to take up another fight. That's why I always considered, or everybody considered, the guy that beat me cowardly. But I also find it cowardly, and I place myself in those shoes, that Keyshawn Davis does not ask for an Andy Cruz fight. I understand that I'm cowardly because that's how I moved. But what do you guys think about that situation? Who's in the right and who's in the wrong?
Drew,
The
go for
who's
it,
in
bro.
the right or wrong of what situation? I don't think no one's ducking no one. The
Whoa.
one is in a different, complete different the other side of the street, and I know it could possibly be made or whatever the case is, but I just also think they're in different stages in their career, or by a couple years, you know. But Andy Cruz is really gonna get fast tracked, but I
Mhm.
mean, it. I think it's way too soon. I don't think it's possible, and I think Keyshawn's just not above him, like as far as a fighter standpoint, but I think he's like looking at bigger names right now. I think Andy Cruz got his name obviously, but I also think it's gonna take a lot for his management to like really take that fight. Put up the money to take that fight. But I also think Keyshawn's a different type of fighter. I think what I seen from him in Pedraza, I think if he fights Pedraza like that, bro, I think he can really hurt fucking Andy. I know Andy's tough. He's with Bozy Ennis.
Mhm.
But what surprises me is because Bozy, bro, I knew about Bozy Ennis since I was, bro. I think it was 2012 or 2013. I didn't even know he was Drawn Ennis's fucking dad. It was this viral video of him whipping his this amateur's kid's ass, but he was like 30 or 40 or something like that. But anyways, he teaches this shit. He teaches dudes how to actually punish dudes, and actually outbox his opponents. Um, and I felt like Andy was gonna be this big puncher. I mean, he stood his ground, obviously against a very tough Brian Rodriguez or Zamaripa. I said it
Samaripa.
right. Zamaripa. Like I thought he was gonna get him out of there. I felt like he cleaned them out every single round, but I
Absolutely.
mean, and I just feel like he couldn't put it away. Um, I think he needs to get those knockouts to like really fast track his career because I felt like he did have it in him, but it's like, all right, bro, like did you struggle or what happened? But I mean, I see the way Keyshawn is fighting and the way he's developing, and I'm like, dude, this guy fights to fucking hurt people.
Yeah.
He goes in there and hurts. And as someone who smokes weed on the daily basis, as someone who has stopped for a very short while, I know what it does, bro. And I just fucking feel it. I see it, and I'm like, one what? This dude's a different fighter right now. And like not like it as far as what I seen is from his last fight, and that's just from my standpoint. I know you guys don't smoke weed. I smoke it on a daily basis. I know what it does, and I know what the clear-headed mind looks like. And this dude's a different dog when he fights him, and I feel like stylistically he can hurt Andy. You know, I think he can hurt Andy because he goes in there and hurts and goes in there with this. He fights with this fucking with his pride, and I see it now. So I like Keyshawn has grown on me. I think that from his last fight, sh- uh, he didn't shock me to an extent. I think it was what he did was I felt like from what I heard, I thought he was gonna pull some stuff off like that, but he kind of he roughed him up. He roughed up Pedraza pretty good, bro. And it was I wouldn't say similar to Tank the way Tank handled him because Keyshawn did it a little more calculated because of his reach and he was able to do certain things that Tank couldn't. Um, but nonetheless, Tank is obviously the harder puncher. But I like the way Andy fights. Uh, I feel like certain styles um, translate well in the pro game, and I think Keyshawn is proving that. I think he's proven that in this division, and the way he's treading, and I think that him getting caught with weed was the best thing that's ever happened to him in his career.
Um.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. I understand what you're
hold on,
saying.
hold on, speak, because I let you talk and you went on for 20 minutes. Look,
Just to
It's
say
our
one thing,
turn.
huh?
It's our turn.
yeah, it's our turn. Nah, it's my turn. You told me it was my turn. Nah, skip Bayless, man. Nah. I want to say this, man. Andy Cruz could beat Keyshawn Davis 4-0, three rounds. 90 minutes of total. So Andy Cruz can be sharper for Keyshawn for 3 rounds. That's what you're telling me. Again, could he be that much sharper versus Keyshawn for 10? Can Andy Cruz slip up? Because see, Keyshawn, Andy Cruz is faster, right? He looks to be faster, but you're only faster and a little better than Keyshawn Davis. A little better. You ain't majorly outboxed this kid. No, he was competitive in all of those fights. He was
Yeah.
there. Now, did you outpoint him? Did you beat him? Yeah. You didn't knock
Mhm.
him out. You didn't cut him up. You just outboxed him for 3 rounds. Can
Mhm.
you outbox him for 30 minutes, for 36 minutes? And
In favor of
I don't think so.
who are you talking about?
If these guys were to fight for a championship fight or 10 rounds.
Oh, I
I
know, but
know
who?
that Andy Cruz is better than Keyshawn Davis for 3 rounds.
So
But
you're
this
agreeing
is
with
a
me?
pro game. This is
Are
the
you agreeing with me?
nah. I
Is this the
mean,
opposite, or I can't?
well,
Because
I
you didn't
mean,
refer to
it's
anyone.
to reinforce the point. I
Got
and
you.
what I'm saying is, you were saying that Keyshawn would beat him. You were saying that Keyshawn is, much more experienced and they're in different parts of the career. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're both in the contingency phase and they're both prospects essentially. Davis barely
That's what
broke double digits. Andy Cruz is onto his fourth fight, but they're both on the. You also said that Andy Cruz is on the fast pace. So is Keyshawn Davis. They're just going a little slower than him,
But
because he's 5 years younger, so to speak, than Andy
that's what I
Cruz.
meant. That's what I meant. Like
Yeah,
rankings,
yeah.
like yeah,
But so what I'm
ranking wise.
saying is they're basically both prospects. You see, um, they haven't really fought. They're basically fighting the same Pedrazas of the world. They haven't fought a top 10 fighter or a top.
Pedraza's different though.
You know, but I would say this, man. Andy, he looks to be doing really good. I like what I see. He's progressing
Sure.
every single fight, and maybe he starts to develop that punching power and sitting down on his punches. He doesn't. You don't need to have Deontay Wilder power to get knockouts. You really don't. You just have to punch properly, and your timing has to be impeccable. I think Andy Cruz has that timing. And more or less, he has pretty good punch placement. I'm not gonna say it is the best, but against Keyshawn Davis, you know, even though I was extremely impressed with him versus Pedraza, he
Mhm.
still is a prospect. And I know he gets quality training and quality sparring, and he's alongside Bud Crawford, and they nitpick and poke his brain and and have access to his resources. But I would like to see it. I think the margin of error between these fights, or the margin of how competitive this bout would be, it's close, man. It's like a
Yeah.
60-40. I would favor Keyshawn Davis. I like what I saw in the looks that he had against Pedraza, but
Mhm.
I can see Andy Cruz definitely outboxing him for
Sure.
30 minutes. I think he could be sharp. But again, this isn't 9 minutes.
Yeah.
9 minutes goes very fast. 9 minutes, you can circle around, you can dance, and you
Mhm.
land a couple of punches and win.
Mhm.
You're not going to get
And
that lucky with Keyshawn. Keyshawn is going
and
to have time to, dig into the body, take out your
mhm.
legs, and then get you out of there in the later rounds. I don't
Yeah.
know
And
if Cruz is ready for. I mean, I know he's ready for that. I mean, fuck,
yeah.
he has all the confidence, and the ball is in. It looks like to be in Keyshawn
Bro.
Davis' court, but I hope that fight gets made. That's a big fight, bro. And
Yeah.
they're
You got
respectively.
you got one dude. You got one dude sparring Jerron Ennis, and you got one dude sparring Terrence Crawford, bro. Like they're getting the top. They're getting top notch
Wow,
sparring. Like honestly, that's
dude,
a
that's just that's crazy that you said it like
and
that.
you're gonna see similar traits that they both do from those fighters too, because I actually see some of the shit that Andy does. He'll do some shit that Philly fighters do, like that pawing shit that Gabriel Rosado does. Like he got that from Philly. Like that's a Philly thing. Because Bernard Hopkins does it too. I'll show you a video later on, but yeah, he'll like paw your jabbing and boom, he'll do this Philly roll, boom to on the two. But yeah, bro. Keyshawn definitely got it, bro. Like it's the way he punches, right? Like he goes through you. Like he try when he punches, he doesn't tap. He tries to like punch a hole in the wall. So that's what I like about him, bro. Like, so it's a style too. And like you said, it's 12 rounds, 12 rounds of just punishment. And we're gonna see how their bodies fucking take the punishment. Because I mean, Andy got Andy does have something, some kind of pop and speed, and he's probably slightly faster, and that's probably why he was able to win all those rounds in in the amateurs, because he was actually able to beat him to the punch. But
Yeah.
that's it's different. It's different in the pro game. It's about punishment, how well you can take the punishment, how your body, if you not about the cuts, but how well you fight through those cuts, like how tolerant you are through the pain.
So those are very good points on both of you gentlemen. But I don't want to make it about who would win this possible fight, right? Because the indications are it's not next. It's not even
Yeah,
relatively near in the
I
future,
know.
right? By what both of them are saying. In fact, the response from Andy Cruz was basically like, forget that guy. He's nothing. After Keyshawn Davis stated what I'm about to read to you all, but he basically said he's nothing. Forget that guy. So this is exactly what Keyshawn Davis' words were. Um, Tell me, why is the gold medalist? You already beat me 4 times in the amateurs and all that. Shh. Why is you chasing after someone you beat 4 times already? Make it make sense. Never in boxing history has a gold medalist chased after a silver medalist. Oh man,
Well,
that's all I gotta say. Now,
it's a style, right? It's just the way they fight. They're perfect for the amateur style. That's why they got all them gold
yeah,
medalists, bro.
no,
Because yeah,
but again, you're trying to make it about the styles and what would happen. What I'm trying to bring up is the mentality, and
that's what I
and
meant.
mostly
That too.
and
That
mostly
too.
the honesty, right? Because this is the thing, right? um when was the last time that any fighter, that's getting recognition, that's being promoted as the next big thing, when was the last time that somebody spoke as honestly as what Keyshawn Davis just said, and said, listen, you're the gold medalist. You're better than me. You beat me. That's why you got the gold medal. You've beaten me 4 times. Why do you want to fight me? Make it make sense. And what basically is taking place there is that he's honestly saying, with complete honesty, that he is better than that guy, and that he himself is not ready for that challenge. What do you guys think about a fighter that's being so honest like that? And instead of saying something typical like, man, I can't wait to get you next, he
For
says
me,
the opposite.
it's not what he's saying; it's how he's saying it. And he seems like kind of a character, but I mean, like the way he talks and the way he performs might throw you off a little bit, because I mean, he's he's respectful, but he always kind of tells the truth, whether it's good or bad. But I mean, most of the time he means it. I feel like he's that's what makes him, so pop. Like that's what makes him a fan favorite, because how open he is, and how how well he does these interviews. But that's what really intrigues the people. And especially he's a highly touted prospect, obviously, or I mean, he was a really highly decorated amateur. But yeah, no, that's what makes him attractive right there. Being
Yeah,
how
I
he is
think
to the
you're
media.
right. I think you may be on a point, because remember that famous little exchange between Teofimo Lopez and Keyshawn Davis when they were in that silent moment, that hot mic moment where he says, "Hey, why did you say those things
Oh
about
yeah,
me?"
yeah, but he doesn't say. That's the thing. He doesn't say anything outlandish, bro. Like he just
But
kind of
then
says
here's the thing, though. Here's
what.
the thing. When he had to turn it up, when Teofimo Lopez put on that stinker because of Jermaine Ortiz running around like that, and then he ended up knocking out the Pedraza. He got all rowdy. He was calling out Teofimo Lopez. He's like, "I want you next. I want you next." So that's what I'm trying to say, right? He is a very mature, honest, and respectable
Yeah.
individual, because he's being respectful when he's saying these things about Andy Cruz. He's not saying anything disrespectful. He's just saying, look, bro, you're better than me. You beat him 4 different times. I don't know why you're calling me out. That's basically me admitting that you're better than me, that I don't want to fight you. And he's not saying nothing disrespectful. But when it comes down to it, I'm sure that he's gonna turn up like he did with Lopez when he was being very respectful and honest, and then all of a sudden he's like, let's go for it, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say, Drew, is this.
What are you trying to say, man?
It's a refreshing that Keyshawn Davis admits that he's not ready for a fight. When we're expecting all fighters to say, yeah, I'm ready for that fight all the time, even when we know they're not. It's a good thing for a fighter to be honest. Like, for example, right? Homie Ricky, right? Homie Ricky has just mentioned that he wants to work with my son for a few more fights, a few more years, and then set him pro. He said 2-3 years. You've said it. You said it yourself. I can quote you. I can quote you. And your prior 2 lives, you've said the same thing. 2-3 years. You said it yourself. Now, basically, what the homie Ricky is admitting to is that there's a lot of work to be got. And if I told you that there is a fighter that's moving in the same circles as my son, but he has more experience, just slightly more, but he's been doing it for longer, and he's just better skilled overall, it's noticeable. And if I told you, if somebody said, well, why is it your son fight that guy? And if I told you, because my son's not ready for him, because I know who that guy is and I know my son, would you criticize me or my son for that?
No, I mean,
of course not, because you know when a fighter is ready for it. Keyshawn Davis knows he's not ready for Andy Cruz at this juncture, in this professional opinion. Is that something that we should criticize, or should we better acclaim the valor of the unprepared just to take and sell their booty for a fight?
We shouldn't even criticize.
Two scenarios that I want to bring up. Hold on. Let me see this real quick. You guys remember this moment? Do you guys remember this moment? Do you guys remember this guy's face right here, Max Kellerman? What about this guy? This is Danny Garcia, Robert Garcia's brother. What about this guy right here? Oh, fucking Keyman Klaus, Richard Schaefer. This is young Victor Ortiz after getting beat by Marcos Maidana. I think this is the moment. Hold on. I got to hear what he says.
I apologize for making everyone look bad, and I don't know. We'll see what happens from here on out, man. I'm young, but I don't think I deserve to be, getting beat up like this. So,
you guys remember that?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Drew. Speed. Do you think that fighters should be honest like Victor Ortiz right there? You said, is it refreshing that Keyshawn Davis is talking like this? When Teofimo Lopez, I'm going to say 2 scenarios. I should have said third. When Teofimo Lopez gets caught on camera and saying, do I still got it? Do I still have it? I'm going to ask you that.
What's the other one?
How do you feel about that, Speed?
What's the other one?
So I
be honest like that.
Well, I do find it refreshing. It doesn't mean that I find it to be the right thing, right? Because
use a different word then.
Well, no, refreshing just means that it's something different, right? Again, because we are expecting all of these fighters to be cap. A lot of the time it's cap, guys. A lot of the time it's cap. A lot of the time when a fighter says, oh yeah, I'm ready, I'm going to put this and this and that, and guess what? They don't live up to it. They go over there and sell their booty. We've seen it time and time again. A lot of these things are words. That's all it is. When it matters, it's in the performance, right? If you can put your words with the actions, now you're cooking with rice, right? But a lot of the time, these things are just words. They're filler for the action that takes place, right? When Victor Ortiz was defeated, I think at the hands of Maidana. Matisse.
I can't. When Maidana.
Okay, Maidana. When Maidana was putting hands on that boy and his face was throbbing and everything like that, and he probably looked at everything that he was doing, he was probably like, oh man, I've been surfing a lot and I've been hanging out with these airheaded blondes, and man, I don't know if this sport is right for me at this moment. I think it's honesty, right? And here's the
No, he
thing.
didn't say that.
It, no, of course he didn't mention the skating and the surfing and the blonde airheads. I get that, but what I'm saying is this: if he admits that there's something wrong in where he is in his career, there's two things that he can do. He can be the type to say, okay, that's it for me and walk out, or say there's work to be done. In order for me to not feel this way, I have to admit that there's flaws and things that I have to change in my career in order for me to continue on. And in fact, he overcame those things, those questions about himself, and he ended up fighting for another 2 or 3 years, putting on some great fights, right? Now, if Keyshawn Davis admits that he's not ready for Andy Cruz fight, should they fight next, and it turns out that he's true, that he's correct, and then he gets utterly devastated to the point that it crushes him mentally, so that he starts talking to like these guys, and maybe is never the same fighter. Guess what? He was proven to be right. The sport of boxing, besides being a sport of being valorous and brave, is also a sport that you partake in to be the victor. You see what I'm saying? There's always going to be. This is the reason why the sport of boxing is the greatest, most challenging sport of all. Because every single step you take, every single punch you throw, every single thought that runs into your head is meaningful. And if this guy is speaking like this, and honestly, I would say, if I was the promoter, if I was Bob Arum, I would not pit him against Andy Cruz at this moment, because it's telling the way he's moving. But give him some moments, give him some opportunities to believe in himself, to get the right fights, set himself up, and maybe 2 fights from now they go together. Guess what? It's probably the best fight of all.
I'm gonna say this, man. Saludos to you, El Pachuco. I want to say like this, man. I feel that there are a lot of the time, a lot of these conversations should be private. And I feel like when Lomachenko, let me give you another example. When Lomachenko lost to Devin Haney and he went to his locker room and the camera followed and they put the camera on Lomachenko and he was crying and breaking into tears heavily, and they put a towel over his head. I don't like seeing stuff like that. Those things should be private to only those people in that locker room, father, trainer, family, and things of that nature. You get what I'm saying? Those things should be in private. Certain conversations should be in private. You know,
Yeah.
Victor Ortiz going in there like, I'm young, man. I don't deserve to get hit in the face like that. You know, I understand where you're coming from, Victor, but we know this is a brutal sport. We know those
Bro.
things just
No,
Yeah.
they don't.
hurt.
This is the
You know,
thing.
and the
No,
fans
they
know that
don't.
too. But
Yeah, they
but
do.
and
No,
but
they don't.
hold
The
on, hold on, hold on,
casual
hold
fan
on.
does not
And
know
then,
what takes place in the sport of boxing.
no, hold
They
on.
don't
Because
know what it feels
Listen,
like to take a punch for a
listen.
living.
If you tell me like I don't need to be a genius and be like, yeah, dude, I get hit in the head. That shit hurts. My brain rattles. Like, we know what it is. People are insensitive to it and they don't really care at a certain point. Because look at the way they shit all
See,
over
that's more honest.
the lawyer. But what I'm saying is this: there's moments where honesty is it is needed. You know, this conversation right here, like you were saying, if your son spoke to us like that, and if he's not ready, I'm be like, all right, bro, it's all right. I don't think of you less
yeah,
than a man. You know,
bro.
like they're just these moments that are in
Exactly.
private, and that's what we're gonna have to do. It's keep it a
Let me.
private
I'm.
conversation. You don't have to announce certain things to the whole world and be
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
But
Like I just
And
feel
but
let me say something.
yeah,
yeah,
Like
go for
you
it.
I've.
guys keep cutting me off, damn it.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. No,
no,
because I
you
was gonna
guys
say
keep going.
I've like they have the most honest conversations in the back. Like the good fighters, like the ones that are getting set up good and they have good promoters and they're actually moving the right direction. Like they know how they're moving and they have the most honest conversations, bro. Like they actually say with their coaches, sit with their coaches and say, like, yeah, you can take that guy, or no, you're not ready for that guy. Like they have conversations like that, bro. You know, like I'm pretty sure dudes like fucking Morel and Ronnie Shields, he's pretty Ronnie Shields telling everyone like he's not ready for that fight, you know? And Morel, he's pretty much saying, yeah. Like they have the most honest conversations, bro. Like you know, like that's just what happens. I also heard of ducking conversations too. Like
Absolutely.
yeah, like I heard of conversations where they say, "Hey, I'm not ready. You can't take body punch." Like I've heard, like I know a fighter who can't take body punches, and they're like saying, like you can't take body punches, and that's his game. He goes to the body every single round. That's your
Yeah,
weakness. You
Yeah,
know, like
that's Keith Thurman.
yeah,
yeah.
they have honest conversation. I've heard of conversations like that.
But you know what? As a fan and as a bettor, I don't want to know that. I want to know
Exactly.
that this is fucking Gladiator.
Exactly.
Oh, this is Achilles. This
How is
dude is
that
going to go to
refreshing? You
war
know.
and be unblemished. I don't want to hear Ryan Garcia be like, "Well, guys, I had a rib injury. That's why I quit." Well, you should have told us that before
Look,
that
look.
happened, bro.
You guys,
Exactly.
one of the things that homie Ricky has stated a lot in the past lives about why what these promoters are doing wrong in promoting the sport is that he says that they don't have these sit downs, these face-to-face sit downs, these promotions where they follow the fighters and they interview them and so forth and so on. You've said this, homie. You said that some of the best exciting moment build-ups were when Sergio Maravilla was going back and forth with Cotto, having those eyeball-to-eyeball conversations where they were very uh, uh, confrontational with words and vulnerable because both of them were exposing the
They were
flaws
vulnerable,
of each other and the strengths, right?
not
And
vulnerable.
some of the most moving moments in the sport of boxing have been when the wall gets toppled and the reality of the fact that these people are humans gets pushed right in your face. The Lomachenko crying because his dreams of becoming undisputed were robbed from him. When Victor Ortiz questioned his heart, whether or not he belonged in the sport after taking a beating at Maidana, look at his face. When Teofimo Lopez, after running around after a gazelle that toppled him over with a couple of check hooks, he exposes his real self and says, "Wow, everything that I fought for is it all coming down, crashing above me." These are the moments that the reason they linger in your mind and the reason you don't want to face them is because you want to remain ignorant. Why? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to think about these people as humans. You want to think of them as instruments and weapons set to destroy each other because that's the only way that you find entertainment. But once you bring them down to the level of the human, once you realize that they have sensations and pain sensors and all of these things, that's when you want to walk away. That's when you don't want to face the reality of the sports. Here's the thing. Every single one of these moments, if you don't show these moments, you're not privy to all of the insider knowledge that takes place. You are just an ignorant casual. And this is the reason why I love this channel, right? Because contrary to a lot of other channels that you may follow, the bigger ones, that they're all commentators and perhaps at most they're coaches. You know what we are? We're people involved in sport. We're former fighters, we're trainers, we're fathers of children that fight. We have these insider conversations that everybody else is excluded about because they're not involved. This is the thing that I've prided myself about this channel. The fact that we give it to you raw from all angles. We look at this business of the sport. We look at the amateurs. We consider the professionals. We talk about training. We break down fights. We give you the raw stuff that you will never find everywhere else. So to exclude that just because you feel that Victor Ortiz should not be honest to say, hey, maybe I want to surf with the airheaded blondes more. Just because maybe somebody like my favorite fighter, Vasily Lomachenko, breaks down because he sees that he's an older fighter that might never make it to his dream, that he might die, never having accomplished what he set out the purpose of his life to be. If you belittle and denigrate these experiences just because it makes you feel bad or because you don't know who to bet on, I apologize, buddy. But this is not the Homie Ricky podcast. From now on, this is the Warp Speed podcast.
What?
Dude,
What?
shut your ass up. Listen, dude. No way, bro. No way. Look, listen.
Man, I went on a good rant there.
No. Look, I understand where you're coming from, but relax, everybody. Relax. There's, like I said, there's conversations that are made to have in privacy.
Like the
Right?
one you just had right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Privacy, no, that's fine. But privacy is very important, right? You're not supposed to let your opponent know the next move. you're not really supposed to reveal behind the curtain. You know, it's like a magician, bro. When you go to a magic show, why are you going there for? You're going there to be entertained. You're going there to see magic.
To be gullible.
There's gonna be those skeptics that pay the ticket to be like, there's a hatch underneath there's a trap door that he's falling and he's teleporting to the other one. He's running across the stage. But you ruin that suspense, that allure, because you know too much. You see, if you're an insider, there's a famous movie, an amazing movie with Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale called The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan, right? The amazing UK director that makes all those badass movies like Memento and Serpico and all these things. Anyway, you don't want to be you don't want that current to be revealed. You see what I'm saying? Like if LeBron James is courtside with Kobe Bryant at 10 years ago when they were in the All-Star game, you want to let these guys have their moment of conversation. You don't want these microphones to pick up a conversation. Maybe they're talking shit to each other. Maybe they're covering their mouth because they don't want people in the world to know what they're talking about. But because of technology, you can zoom in and it's like, no, man, I like privacy. I like not everything being revealed to the people. Yes, for a betting standpoint, it would behoove us to know every single intricate little detail. Oh, a 25-pound fell on his fat toe and, he can't really plant on his foot. Whatever the case may be, of course. But sometimes just not saying anything goes a long ways. Whether you look at an older man's face and he's just pondering, sitting on the bench and he's feeding the dove and you're like, damn, the image says a lot of words. You see what I'm saying? When you speak upon certain things, right, you lose that aura. You lose the allure. You know what I mean? When Victor Ortiz starts saying this is an honest moment where it feels refreshing, like he said, and you're like, man, he's really contemplating a lot of things to the point where, like, bro, this was an amazing fight for 40 minutes that you had with Marcos Maidana. You dropped Marcos Maidana. Marcos was almost not going to get up, but he still fought bravely and made you reconsider your own life and thoughts. Little did we know, Victor Ortiz goes on to fight another 8 more years and hands himself an amazing fight, another hellacious fight with Andre Berto to get the Floyd Mayweather sweepstakes. You see what I'm saying? So the plight and the juggling of thoughts from left to right side of your brain, it's going on in your mind, and he's speaking about it, and it's just like, whoa, relax, bro, just chill. So I know where you're coming from, but there's moments also like Teofimo where he knows the cameras there and like he's pandering to the cameras and it's filled with lies, and there's with Lomachenko, and it's like, nah, man. Sometimes I just feel like leave that for an HBO documentary. And then after the fact, show it to us. Show it to us in that moment. Raw and uncut, major angles coming at you from different ways, warp speed. Nah, bro. None of that.
And I was gonna say, like, you want something to last. You want a lasting image of what people think of you when you retire. And I think that's if you know it's gonna be your last fight, I mean, you kind of want to end with a bang and kind of just hold your pride together. Like. I also feel like that's a major part right there. And also, if you don't, like, your heart's got to be in the game, bro. Like, honestly, it's a different mindset when you're going to spar today, and when you got to continue to work out and you're going to fight again later on the month. Like, you become civilized when you realize you don't have to do that anymore, and you don't. And once you realize you don't do that anymore, there's a huge sense of like either when you get you get comfortable and you're at peace, or you finally find.
But you see, let me tell you
Yeah.
though, guys. Remember, Victor Ortiz, the homie Ricky just proved it. Victor Ortiz made everybody question him, and what did he do afterwards? He accomplished all those great fights, fighting the Mayweather sweepstakes, getting that crazy old, what was it, 2013 war with Andre Berto. What happened with Teofimo Lopez after he questioned himself before everybody? He ended up putting on one of the most masterful displays of boxistic abilities, taking on a former undisputed undefeated champion, and Josh Taylor. What happened? What happened with Vasily Lomachenko after he broke down in tears? He's coming back to reclaim him, even though he's 36 years of age. Right? Likely an impossibility for him to attain all of those belts. These stories do not get depreciated in value solely because a person is honest, right? I mean, let me just tell you to like this: if Ryan Garcia had been honest with everybody, and he would have said, "Guys, listen, you want me to fight Gervonta Tank Davis? Do you guys really know who I am? I got some crazy left hooks and some speed. But otherwise, man, that guy is one of the best fighters in the world. If you guys want me to fight with him, sure, I'll get my behind beat, but it's gonna cost you like $80." That would have been an honest assessment of the fight. But what did he do? He capped, and he let everybody believe that the words what he was saying, that he was ready for him and he was gonna knock out this guy, were real. It was all cap, and all it did is cost you $80 for the cappage, right? Now, before I before I hop off this live, guys, I just want to wish a good even fall and a good night to all of our listeners. Mr. Vince Vargas, of course, El Pachuco. We had a couple of guys that hopped in here tonight. There was Easy E. There was boxing with Frank Bay. Um, but I just wanted to end it with this, right? Because we ended up talking about how divisive some of these characters are. A brother, Bill Haney, with another brother, and Bernard Hopkins. And I'm not the most religious guy. I'm trying to get back with finding my spirituality through religion, right? And a couple of weeks back, this sermon stuck with me. Long story short, it was a sermon about two brothers that lived in this very remote area, but close to each other. One of the brothers was the neighbor of the other brother. One of the brothers was single. One of the other brothers was a married man with family and kids, right? And both of them, they dealt in hay. They grow hay and everything. And that season, it was a very bountiful. It was
Sorry,
a
I
very
thought.
bountiful season. Put yourself on mute so that I can tell you this important story, right? Uh, they had a great harvest that year. The hay was the biggest, tallest, and both of them were so ecstatic. Now, one brother woke up very early. He's like, "Oh man, my brother, he's not gonna have time to harvest. He has a wife and kid. I'm gonna go help him out." So what he ended up doing is he ended up cutting a bunch of hay from his own plot. He packed them up into hay bales, and he went and woke up in the morning and he started to walk towards his brother's home, which was about, maybe uh, 500 feet away or something like that. And the other brother was thinking something similar. He was thinking, "Oh, my brother, he's lonely. He has no one to help him, no wife and kids. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna harvest my field, and I'm gonna give him some bundles of hay, some hail bales." So he wakes up very early, and he cuts down this hay and he packs it up and he starts walking across the field. And both of them find themselves in the middle of the night running into each other, packed full of hay, giving it to each other. And they're like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And they were helping each other out. Sometimes we have to come together, right? We have to consider ourselves brothers and sisters that can go past the physical differences between ourselves, the color, the race, and all of those things that divide us. Sometimes we have to meet right in the middle. And I just left you with that little sermon right there about the two brothers that looked at the differences of each other and they found ways to meet in the middle to see who was the better man. Mr. Bill Haney is not being the better man. Mr. B. Hopkins has a lot to do to be a better man than he already is. But I hope you've learned something from this here live. Warp Speed does thank you all for joining us in this incredible live. It was very lively. We had so many questions here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Drew, closing
But
Well,
I'm
words.
out.
um, yeah, man. The only thing Bill I see did wrong is the fact that he got all up on Bernard's fucking space. That's it. That's it. But other than that, he's good, man. Um, yeah, man. So we're gonna watch the fights. We're gonna go live for that. Not during the live, not during the fight, but We're gonna talk about that, right? Like the results. Rick.
Nah, bro. You said you're gonna do your closing statement about Abdullah Mason.
Oh man, see you talk so long, bro.
Yeah,
You
you guys
talk.
want to go another hour? Nah, bro. Like, what the?
No.
Yeah,
I
let me
was
know when y'all done with the live, bro. I'll just
no.
text me.
That's not what I meant. I meant. Oh my god. I see. I didn't even say that. I
We'll
said.
go for it, man.
Nah,
Me and
no,
you
I'm
are
not.
still on the live,
I
bro.
was no. I was literally gonna end it right here. I asked. He didn't even get my question. I was like, "Are we gonna go live for the results of this weekend's fight?"
Oh,
Look,
okay. Well, what
you know,
weekend if
and
fight
you
is
got all
that?
mad, and then you got all mad. You thought I was trying to talk about that. I'm like,
Are
bro,
you
I
talking about
just
the Jake Paul and Mendes Serrano fights, or which
nah
ones?
the Venado fight.
Okay, so you're not gonna watch Jake Paul fight then, all right?
Well, I mean, I do got the subscription, but yeah, I mean, we could, like, I was just talking about this weekend's fights. Like, we're gonna talk like the results on it. We already talked about it. Like, I'm talking about the results. You
Yeah.
know,
No,
that's
I'm
it.
sure.
But yeah, I gotta
I'm
go
sure.
too.
All right, but everybody, I do wish you a wonderful night. Thank you very much for hopping on this live. And just in case you guys didn't know it, Chocolatito's about to retire.